Spiritual abuse is when a Christian leader causes injury to others by acting in a self-centered manner in order to benefit himself or themselves. And if to go by this definition, almost all churches in Africa, the churches themselves are self-centered. That is one thing that must change if we want to stop the abuse in African churches. Because church must be people-centered, not self-centered. But when a whole church that is supposed to be people-centered and God-centered, first of all, it's supposed to be God-centered and then people-centered. But instead of being people-centered and God-centered, when it becomes self-centered, then abuse, spiritual abuse, is inevitable. So the problem we have in Africa right now is that our churches are too selfish. That's why everybody is only talking about their own church. Everybody is praising their own church. Every church believes that they are the best. Whenever you see self-centered churches, abuses are inevitable. So it's not just the leaders that were abused, but the whole system is abusive. Now, if the leader also is self-centered, then the injuries to people will be unbearable. It will just be everywhere. Injuries will never stop. They will keep on causing injuries to people because of their self-centered manner in which the church is organized. Now, if the church is self-centered or the pastor is self-centered, another problem is that they will be looking for their own benefit, which means that a self-centered church and a self-centered leader will be looking for his own benefits only. That means that church will be using people. And if a church is using people, if a church is using people rather than raising people, then that is an abusive situation already. So churches are supposed to be there to be like ladder upon which people climb to God, or directly, or they use it to climb to God. Or they should be like bridges that helps people to cross over from where they are to the destiny that God has for them. That is what church is supposed to be all about. But if church is self-centered and the leadership is self-centered as well, then what they will be doing is that they will not be raising you up to reach the master, the king. They will not be there to be the ladder that you use to get to God, but rather they will be using you to achieve their goals and their vision and their purposes. So church is not created that the church will use people. But when it is a self-centered church, it will begin to use people. You know what I feel right now? I feel I should stop and go and tell all of you people to go invite your friends. Let's just go right now and invite people everywhere. This might be one of the most important classes that we will ever do. This is one of the most important series that we will ever do. Because this series is what everybody has tasted. Everybody have a taste of what it means to be abused in churches, spiritually or religiously. So if a church is the church is functioning to benefit itself or to fulfill its own vision, then that church is going to be abused. If the church is supposed to be there to fulfill God's vision of loving people, raising people, and helping people, so that the church is supposed to be there to be used. It is the people who are supposed to be using the church to get to God and to get closer to God. But if that church is not based on love and it's not based on this principle, what will happen is that the church now, or the people, the leadership of the church, will now be using people to benefit themselves. So you will not become, the church is no more there for you. It will be like you are the one that is there for the church. So you are not using the church. The church is not benefiting you in the sense that it's there for you to be, so that you could use the church to get to God. But the church will right now be using you to build the earthly empire. That is the problem with spiritual abuse. So it might come in different forms, right? But the whole idea is an abusive church or abusive spiritual or religious relationship is when a Christian leader or a Christian organization causes injury to members or to people just because of their egocentric nature or activities. For example, if you go to Nigeria right now and you want to go from Lagos to Ibadan, there are so many churches on that highway, express road, that a lot of injuries are being caused to commuters who are traveling up and down on regular basis. Injuries in the sense that they will not make you, just because of their egocentric, because they want to worship God. You cannot go to where you are going on time. Sometimes you might have to stand there or wait there in traffic for 6 hours or 8 hours just because somebody says he wants to pray to God. So when people are so carried away by their own needs and by their own by their own desires and their own needs, that they cause inconvenience, abuse, and injury to others, that is an abuse. So that's what we see most of the time. So these churches, and they say they are churches, and they will even tell you that God is with them, and they will even tell you that God is doing miracles there. And they are so callous, they are so insensitive, they are so selfish that they don't even acknowledge the fact that they are causing injury to others. As a matter of fact, not only injury these churches cause, especially those churches on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, a lot of them have actually caused death. They have caused death for people, so they have caused irreparable damages to families. Because those families that their relatives have died because of those churches, those losses are irreparable. And can you imagine how an emergency service is supposed to function using that route? They cannot function. People will be dying in the emergency because the place is jam-packed. People's egocentrism and the desire of men to build their own empire and to just be focused on doing their own thing is damaging, killing the whole country, as a matter of fact. Because what is happening as a result of those activities in that Lagos-Ibadan highway is also killing the nation, because it's grinding to a grit the economic life of the nation. And because of our religiosity as a nation, and because our governors and government officials, they themselves go to those churches, and they are too religious to be law-abiding, they will not do anything. They don't stop the pandemonium. They don't stop it because they think that if they try to do that, then they will be offending God. So these are some of the things that need to be reversed. And when a whole nation is being abused, a whole nation's economy is being destroyed, and it's been damaged just because some people say they want to worship God, either they don't know God, or they have a very wrong understanding of that God, or that same God, or they are worshiping the wrong God. So so something needs to be done for Christians. Christians need to begin to think about others, above themselves, just like the Bible says. The Bible says that we should think of others above ourselves. We should lift others above ourselves. So until we begin, when a leader or a church or a leadership of a church is not thinking of others, the well-being of others, above their own well-being, then that church is going to be an abusive church. And that leader is going to be abusive too. So that's what I'm trying to point to you today, that spiritual abuse is it's not widely, this is another point I'm making, that spiritual abuse is not a widely discussed topic. And I myself never even realized that it's such a big topic. But it occurs when a leader manipulates people to achieve selfish goals. That's another reason. That's another factor for spiritual abuse. Leaders use manipulation to achieve their selfish goals. Like, for example, last week, or last 2-3 weeks, I did a series on Pastor Adeboye. And if some of you saw what Pastor Adeboye was talking about in terms of money, that is manipulation. That is an abusive relationship. I mean, by telling, the way he was talking to the pastors, how he was addressing them, that is an abusive relationship. And if you look at Pastor Adeboye as being the best that we have, the best pastor we've got in Nigeria, or the most respected pastor, and if he's not even noticing the abuses that he's inflicting on people. He's not even noticing the damages. He's not even noticing it at all. So if that form of damage is, on the level of doctrines and practices, is being done by such a celebrated pastor, you will see that we're in trouble. It means that our whole society is an abusive society. And then later on, I went into the series with Pastor Chris Oyakilome. That one, the abuses are even worse. It's a whole system of abuse. At least if Pastor Adeboye was abusive, but in a cunning way. But in the case of Chris Oyakilome, is an outright. He went all the way to build a whole structure of abuses, just abusive system from A to Z. So his own is not subtle at all. His own is outright abuse. So then if you go to other churches that I'm going to be talking about after this series, like Matthew Ashimolowo, and especially, I don't know too much about Matthew Ashimolowo yet, but especially when it comes to Oyedepo, that one is just it's like an empire of abusive leadership. It's just an abusive leader. So, but this is what is obtainable in my country right now. The way Nigeria is, it's like the whole country is under abuses. It's like it's built on abuses. Churches are built on abuse. Families are built on abuse. Children upbringing is built on abuse to a large extent. A lot of our relationship in our churches and our families is built on abuses. Even some of us who are adults, we have been abused since we were young. And since childhood, we are familiar with abuse. And abuse has become part of our life. So we are used to abuse, and we have now received, and we now look at abuse as the norm to a large extent. And one of the reasons why our families are abusive is for the same reason that I had spoken about before, like here. It's for the same reason of, selfishness, egocentrism, self-centeredness. Self-centeredness leads to manipulations because of their selfish goals. Our parents also uses that to manipulate us sometimes. It's sad, but that's just the fact. Most abusers are not aware of the harm they inflict, though. That I must say. This today, just to be sincere to the end, I must admit that not all abusers know that they were abusing people, or abusive to people. Some of the things that I even see in the African churches, I didn't know. I wouldn't have called them abuses. I didn't know that they were abuses like that. Because when you talk of an abuse, you're talking about rape, or you are thinking about somebody, in a cult, or some people in prison. You are thinking of, something that the people that are really diabolical. But some of the things that we have done to people are abusive too, even though we didn't know about it, even though we didn't intend to you know, to abuse people. So even though we didn't intend to abuse people, and we are not planning to abuse people, but sometimes we end up doing it. We end up doing it, and this is just because, sometimes it's because of ignorance, and sometimes because this is the only way we know. This is the only thing we know. This is the way we have been taught, and this is what we've been exposed to. So, and I hope that my series this week will really help a lot of people to come to the awareness of the danger of abuse. So most abusers are not aware of the harm they inflict, and they might think that they are trying to, to correct you or to help you or to. In fact, most of the abuses in Nigeria as a nation, most of them are seen as discipline. Most people who abuse you, they just think that, they are disciplining you. In fact, abuse is not something that is acknowledged enough in our culture as a problem. Abuses are not something that are acknowledged as a tragedy. The only abuse that is recognized might be sexual abuse, rape. But apart from rape and sexual abuse, it's like all of other form of abuses are regarded as training, which is a lie, because a lot of those trainings end up leaving you damaged and injured. Even the way husbands relate to their wives sometimes is abusive. I mean, can you imagine a husband, with free hands, not holding anything, and the wife carrying things on the head, and the husband is not carrying anything, and then the lady is still having a child at the back. So a woman carrying a baby at the back, carrying something in the head, holding the things with the 2 heads, and the baby is still at the back, and the husband is just mashing, following her. And then when they get to the house, she's the one to go to the kitchen and to begin to cook for him to eat. I mean, that is totally heartbreaking. That is totally heartbreaking, and she's the one who will not go to rest. She's the one, and while she's cooking, she's still having the baby with her. No. Sorry, guys. There must be a revolution in our land against abuses. There must be a revolution against domestic abuse. That's why I wrote this book. If you have not seen this book, I don't know if you can see it, but this is a book that I have here. It's called How to Create Core Values in a Child. It is values that we use to raise up our children, not through abuses. But a lot of African parents, they don't even know these values or how to create these values in a child. So instead of values, we are using abuses to do it. And if you have been abused as a child, I would really like to recommend some things for you that will really help you to regain yourself. And talk about about schools. There are a lot of abuses in our schools too. And that's why I would recommend this book about discipline, because we think that to discipline people, we've got to beat them, we've got to use corporate punishments, we've got to punish them. But discipline could be imbibed in people and taught to people without abusing them. So I will encourage you to get this book, The Power and Force of Discipline, so that you will learn how to discipline your children, or learn how to discipline your pupils or your students without abusing them. So a lot of times we might think that we want to do something good to people, but we keep on we just leave people damaged and abused. And a lot of people that are abused, and some of you might be here today who have already suffered abuse. One of the signs of abuse is that you go about life thinking, why am I unlucky? That's why I wrote this book. And these books, I'm recommending them not because you have to go and buy them. If you want, go and read them for free. They are on Kindle Unlimited. I don't get money from that. Order from, do some booking on Amazon and go and read it for free. But if you want to buy the books, you can buy on Amazon too. or you could buy them by writing to my office, dssbooks@gmail.com. But what I'm saying is that this book is called Why Am I Unlucky? If you find yourself in a situation like this, where you know anything you try to do is like you are just unlucky, things are always just against you. It's not because you are demon possessed. It's not because of mommy water spirits are after you. It's not because some demons from your father's house or your mother's house are after you. It's just because that is a sign of abuse right there. It's because there are some abuses that have been recorded in your mind, in your subconsciousness, that are haunting you. And that's why you need to read the book, so that you will know what to do if you find yourself in a place where you feel that you are constantly unlucky. There's another one just that is similar to that, which is called Stop Blaming What You Lack. This book is called Stop Blaming. Why am I just felt today that I must recommend, apart from me just doing this video and encouraging you, I think I must recommend books for you to be able to come out of and be healed of the abuses. This will also help you stop blaming, because another sign of abuse is that you keep on pointing fingers, you keep on blaming others, you keep on going back to your family, to your relatives, to your story, to your mother, to your upbringing for your failure. So that is why, or you don't have this, you don't have that. So that is why I wrote this book also. If you have been watching our videos and maybe you enjoy them, maybe you don't enjoy them, but still, we need you to help us spread the word. And for that to happen, we only need you to take 5 little steps. Please help us spread this word by liking the video. Then, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. We also need you to press the notification button, and the way to do that is to click on the bell. You see the bell there? Click on it. Then, of course, leave your comments. Let's know what you're thinking about each video. And finally, we need you to go and share the word. Share this video on your Facebook timeline, on your Instagram, and every other platform that you have. All right? Let's win the world for Christ. Thank you so much. Peace.